Chapter 8 of Seth Speaks. The Eternal Validity of the Soul. Sleep, Dreams, and Consciousness. Part 2. You have trained your consciousness to follow certain patterns that are not necessarily natural for it. And these patterns increase the sense of alienation between the waking and dreaming self. To some extent, you drug the body with suggestion, so it believes that it must sleep away a certain amount of hours in one block. Animals sleep when they are tired and awaken in a much more natural fashion. You would retain a far greater memory of your subjective experiences, and your body would be healthier if these sleeping patterns were changed. 6 to 8 hours of sleep in all would be sufficient, with the nap patterns outlined. And even those who think they now need more sleep than this would find they did not if all the time was not spent in one block. The entire system, physical, mental, and psychic, would benefit. The divisions between the self would not be nearly as severe. Physical and mental work would be easier, and the body itself would gain steady periods of refreshment and rest. Now, as a rule, it must wait, regardless of its condition, at least for some 16 hours. For other reasons having to do with chemical reactions during the dream state, bodily health would be improved. And this particular schedule would also be of help in schizophrenia, and generally aid persons with problems of depression or those with mental instability. Your sense of time would also be less rigorous and rigid. Creative abilities would be quickened, and the problem of insomnia that exists for many people would be largely conquered. For what they fear is often the long period in time in which consciousness, as they think of it, seems to be extinguished. Small meals or snacks would then be taken upon rising. This method of eating and sleeping would greatly help various metabolic difficulties and also aid in the development of spiritual and psychic ability. For many reasons, physical activity at night has a different effect upon the body than physical activity during the day, and ideally both effects are necessary. At certain times during the night, the negative ions in the air are much stronger or numerous than in the daytime. For example, an activity during this time, particularly a walk or outside activity, would be highly beneficial from a health standpoint. Now, the period just before dawn represents a crisis point for persons severely ill. Consciousness has been away from the body for too long a period, and such a returning consciousness then has difficulty dealing with the sick body mechanism. The practice in hospitals of giving drugs to patients so that they would sleep entirely throughout the night is detrimental for this reason. In many cases, it is too great a strain on the part of the returning consciousness to take over again the ailing mechanism. Such medications also often prevent certain necessary dream cycles that can help the body recuperate, and the consciousness then becomes highly disoriented. Some of the divisions between portions of the self, therefore, are not basically necessary, but are the result of custom and convenience. Let's talk about it. I believe Seth is saying here that most of us have trained our consciousness to follow certain unnatural patterns that lead to increased alienation between our waking and our dreaming selves. Seth proposes that our sleeping patterns should be changed to improve our memory, overall health, and of course psychic well-being. Seth recommends that instead of a single block of 6 to 8 hours of sleep, he recommends taking naps throughout the day, and implies that this approach would benefit physical, mental, and psychic aspects. Not to mention, it would be a great help for folks with certain health conditions like schizophrenia and depression. Eating small meals or snacks upon rising. Seth also recommends this. Nighttime physical activity, especially during times with strong negative ions in the air, according to Seth, would be very beneficial to our health. Seth criticizes the practice of medicating patients to sleep throughout the night. He feels that it can disrupt the necessary dream cycles and create disorientation upon waking. Seth concludes that some divisions within oneself are not essential, but are the result of our customary practices. If you've enjoyed this reading, please consider giving it a like, a share, and subscribe for more. And of course, please below in the comments, let's keep the discussion going. What did you think about this passage? And are you going to take Seth's advice? Thank you again for listening or watching. Until the next time, this is the end of part 2 of Sleep, Dreams, and Consciousness of Chapter 8, The Eternal Validity of the Soul. Thank you.